If the lights go out tonight, does your house say nothing here? Or does it say, I have a generator worth taking? Raccoon Survival spent 20 minutes walking down a suburban street last fall. No special equipment, no binoculars, no drones. Just 2 eyes, one of which still works, and 4 decades of knowing what to look for. By the time he reached the end of the block, he knew which 3 houses had a month of food storage. He knew which one had a generator. He knew which one had medical supplies beyond a basic first aid kit. He knew which one had firearms stored in a bedroom closet on the 2nd floor, northeast corner. He did not break into any of them. He did not need to. They told him everything. And they told him because the people inside those houses believed they were prepared. They believed the cameras and the signs and the reinforced doors made them safe. They had spent thousands of dollars building what they thought was a fortress. What they built was a billboard. And tonight, we are going to walk that street together. Every house, every signal, every mistake. Because your house is talking right now to anyone passing by, and you have never heard what it is saying. But before we walk, we need to understand something. This is not about paranoia. This is not about assuming every stranger on your sidewalk is cataloguing your possessions. This is about a principle that has governed human conflict for as long as humans have had things worth taking. The principle is simple. In any disruption, whether it lasts 3 days or 3 months, the people who survive are not the ones with the most resources. They are the ones nobody knows about. The grey man principle. You have probably heard it applied to how you dress, how you walk, how you carry yourself in a crowd. Do not stand out. Do not attract attention. Blend. Disappear. Be forgettable. What almost nobody talks about is that your house needs to be a grey man too. Your house is not a grey man. Your house, right now, this evening, is doing the opposite of disappearing. It is performing, and the audience is larger than you think. We start with the most obvious signal, the one that 78 million American households have voluntarily installed on their front doors, their eaves, their garage corners. The security camera, the Ring doorbell, the Nest Cam, the Arlo system with 4 weatherproof units covering every angle. These devices exist to make you feel safe. They record. They alert. They let you watch your porch from 1,000 miles away. And in normal times, during the ordinary Tuesday through Thursday of civilization, they work. A package thief sees the camera. He moves to the next house. A vandal notices the blinking light. He picks a different mailbox. The camera deters the lazy opportunist. And that is the only threat model these devices were designed for. The lazy opportunist. Now consider a different scenario. The grid has been down for 72 hours. It is not a scheduled outage. It is not a storm that will pass. Something larger has failed, and nobody is sure when it will come back. In that scenario, the Ring doorbell on your front porch does not say protected. It says, this house has power. The Arlo system with 4 cameras covering every angle does not say surveilled. It says, this household invested $400 in perimeter monitoring, which means this household has things worth monitoring. The visible security camera in a grid-down scenario is a neon sign that reads, resources inside. Think about it from the other direction. You are walking through a neighborhood during a prolonged disruption. You are not a criminal. You are a father with 2 children who have not eaten in 2 days. You are passing through, looking for any indication of where help might be. You see 20 houses. 19 of them are dark, quiet, curtains drawn, nothing visible. One house has a camera with a small green LED still blinking on the porch. Just that. Just one tiny green light. What does that light tell you? It tells you that house has power. If it has power, it probably has a generator. If it has a generator, it has fuel. If it has fuel and a generator, the people inside planned ahead. If they planned ahead, they planned for more than electricity. That one green light just became the most dangerous signal on the block. And that is just the camera. We have not even started walking yet. The yard sign. Every third house in suburban America has one. Protected by ADT, secured by Simply Safe, monitored by Brinks. These signs were engineered for exactly one purpose: to make the casual burglar choose a different house. And in the context of casual burglary, they achieve that purpose. Studies from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte surveyed over 400 convicted burglars. The majority said they would avoid a house with a visible alarm sign. The majority. The casual ones. The ones who are looking for an unlocked sliding door and a quick grab. That survey did not interview the other kind. The kind that does not exist during normal times but materializes during extended disruptions. The kind that is not looking for a television. The kind that is looking for water, food, medicine and shelter, and will not be deterred by a sign that promises a response from a company that no longer has functioning dispatch. In a grid-down event, an ADT sign means nothing operationally. The alarm system requires power. The monitoring center requires communication networks. The police response requires functioning infrastructure. Remove any one of those and the sign is a decoration. But it is not a meaningless decoration. It communicates something important. It says the homeowner has money. It says the homeowner has a security mindset. It says the homeowner is the type of person who plans ahead and purchases protection. Which means the homeowner probably planned ahead in other ways too. The camera says this house has power. The alarm sign says this house has resources. Together they say this house is worth a closer look. Now we walk. Raccoon Survival does this exercise in every new neighborhood he passes through. Not because he is looking for targets, because he is studying how visible information accumulates, how a house tells its story to anyone willing to read it. The walk takes 30 seconds per house, sometimes less, and it begins not at the front door but at the curb, the driveway. You pull up to a house and the first thing visible from the street is the driveway. What is parked there tells you more than most people realize. A single sedan, nothing remarkable. 2 cars, a family. But a truck with a contractor rack and a toolbox bolted to the bed says manual competence. The owner works with his hands. He has tools. Tools that are useful when systems fail. A truck with an aftermarket bumper, a winch, off-road tires, says something further. It says the owner operates in environments where standard infrastructure does not exist. That truck is not a commuter vehicle. It is a capability statement. Now look at what is next to the truck. A cargo trailer, a boat on a trailer, a camper. Each of these is a self-contained system. The cargo trailer holds supplies. The boat offers water evacuation. The camper is a mobile shelter with its own water, power and cooking systems. From the curb, in 3 seconds, you now know this household has transportation, tools, mobile shelter, and the financial resources to maintain all 3. You did not open a single door. You did not touch a single window. The driveway told you. 2 houses down, different story. Single compact car, slightly dented. Bare driveway. No tools visible. No trailer. No aftermarket anything. This house has transportation and nothing else. In a disruption, this household leaves or stays and waits. It does not adapt. It does not improvise. It depends entirely on external systems for food, water and shelter. The driveway told you that too. Same street, same 30 seconds. Completely different survival profile. Raccoon Survival once counted the vehicles on a single block in suburban Tennessee. 14 houses. He could rank them by self-sufficiency from the curb in under 2 minutes. The rankings held up when he later met the residents through entirely unrelated circumstances. The man with the winch truck and the cargo trailer had 8 months of food storage and a well with a hand pump. The man with the dented sedan had a refrigerator with 3 days of groceries and a flashlight with no batteries. The driveway does not lie. The garage. Most suburban garages are partially open during daylight hours. People come and go. They leave the door up while they work in the yard, while they take out the trash, while they stand in the driveway and talk to a neighbor. During those minutes, the interior of the garage is visible from the street. What does a prepared garage look like from 40 feet away? Shelving, lots of it. Metal shelving along the walls, loaded with boxes and containers. A chest freezer, sometimes 2. Cases of water stacked on the floor. 5-gallon buckets, the kind that hold rice or beans or wheat berries when sealed with gamma lids. A workbench with tools mounted on a pegboard. These are all visible from the street during a single pass. You do not need to stop walking. You do not need to stare. A glance through an open garage door delivers a complete inventory assessment. Raccoon Survival made a list. 1 block, 7 houses with garages visible during a Saturday afternoon walk. House 1, 2 chest freezers, bulk water, shelving full of canned goods, a generator on the floor. House 2, lawn equipment, bicycles, nothing else. House 3, a workbench with power tools, shelving with labelled bins, a gun safe visible in the corner. House 4, empty except for a car and a recycling bin. House 5, a deep pantry visible through an open interior door, cases of bottled water, medical supply boxes with red crosses on the labels. House 6, sports equipment, a kayak, nothing survival relevant. House 7, completely packed, floor to ceiling, with Costco-branded bulk purchases still in the original packaging. That is 7 houses, 1 walk, 1 Saturday. No trespassing, no binoculars, just eyes and the willingness to notice what is being displayed in plain sight. The lawn. This one surprises people. What does a lawn communicate about preparedness? More than you would expect. A perfectly maintained lawn, edged, fertilized, weed-free, chemically treated, tells you something specific. It says the homeowner allocates time and money to appearance. It says the homeowner values how the house looks to neighbors and passers-by. It says the homeowner operates within a social framework where visible maintenance equals status. This is not a criticism, it is an observation. But that observation has a corollary. A homeowner who invests heavily in appearance is more likely to invest heavily in visible security. The cameras, the signs, the floodlights, the smart locks. These are appearance investments. They make the house look secure. Whether they make the house be secure is a different question. Now look at a different lawn, slightly overgrown, not neglected but not performed. No chemical treatment, no landscaping service. The hedges are thick and tall, maybe a little wild. The bushes along the foundation are dense and thorny. The trees are mature, providing canopy cover. The fence is solid, not decorative, 6 feet of wood with no gaps. This lawn says something entirely different. It says the homeowner does not care what you think. And it also says, if you look carefully, that the hedges block sight lines into the windows. The thorny bushes create a natural barrier against approach. The trees reduce aerial visibility, and the solid fence prevents casual observation of the backyard. This lawn is not landscaping, it is a perimeter, and the homeowner who grew it that way probably did so intentionally. There is one more lawn signal that Raccoon Survival considers the single most revealing indicator in suburban reconnaissance. The garden. A visible vegetable garden in the front or side yard tells you that the occupant of this house thinks about food production. not food consumption, production. That distinction matters enormously. A consumer depends on supply chains. A producer has begun to decouple from them. The size of the garden tells you how serious the decoupling is. A few tomato plants in a raised bed, that is a hobby. 6 raised beds with drip irrigation, companion planting, and a compost system, that is a food strategy. And it is visible from the sidewalk. Raccoon Survival walked a neighborhood in rural Virginia 2 years ago. He was visiting someone unrelated. He walked the block once. He identified the one house with a serious food garden on the side yard. He also noticed the rain barrel connected to the downspout, the solar panels on the south-facing roof slope, and the chicken coop behind the fence, partially visible through a gap in the boards. 4 systems: water collection, solar power, food production, protein source, all visible from public property, all broadcasting capability to anyone who walked by and knew what they were looking at. The owner of that house, it turned out, was one of the most prepared individuals Raccoon Survival had ever encountered. 18 months of food storage, independent water supply, medical training, a communications setup that could reach 3 states. And every single one of those preparations was invisible from the street, except the 4 systems that could not be hidden: the garden, the rain barrel, the panels, the coop. Those 4 items told the whole story to anyone fluent in the language. Trash day. This is the one nobody thinks about. Every week, Americans roll their bins to the curb and leave them there for hours, sometimes overnight. During those hours, the contents of your household consumption are displayed in a publicly accessible container on a public right-of-way, and those contents are extraordinarily revealing. Raccoon Survival does not go through people's trash. He does not need to. He reads the outside of the bins and the visible top layer. The cardboard boxes stacked next to the bin, the items too large to fit inside, and from that top layer and those boxes, the following assessments become trivial. Amazon boxes with specific product dimensions. A box that is 48 by 12 by 12 inches, that is a long gun case. A box that is 20 by 20 by 18 inches and weighs noticeably more than cardboard, that is ammunition. A box with a medical supply company's logo, that is prescription fulfillment or bulk medical procurement. A box from a freeze-dried food company, recognizable by the logo even from a passing car, that tells you the household is building long-term food storage. A box from a water filtration company. A box from a solar equipment supplier. A box from a communications equipment vendor. 1 trash day, 1 walk down the block. And the observer now knows which houses recently purchased defensive equipment, which ones are building food reserves, which ones are investing in off-grid power, and which ones are upgrading their water independence. None of this information required any illegal activity to obtain. It was placed on the curb by the homeowner and left there for anyone to see. Raccoon Survival spent one trash morning on a street in suburban North Carolina. It was a Tuesday. He counted 14 houses. From the visible packaging alone, he identified 3 households actively building preparedness infrastructure. One had 3 large boxes from a well-known freeze-dried food company stacked beside the bin. Another had packaging from a portable solar panel kit and a water filtration system visible in the recycling. A third had a flattened but still legible box from a company that manufactures radio communication equipment. 3 houses out of 14 were actively preparing. And all 3 of them announced it to the entire street every Tuesday morning. The mailbox. Small detail, easy to overlook. But the mailbox tells you something about household rhythm and occupancy patterns. A mailbox stuffed with 3 days of mail says the residents are away. A mailbox that is empty by 9 in the morning says someone is home and attentive. A mailbox with a lock says the homeowner is security conscious. A mailbox with a USPS vacation hold notice taped to the inside says the homeowner told the postal service they would be gone and approximately when they would return. That hold notice is visible through the mailbox door. Beyond occupancy, the mail itself communicates. Catalogues from outdoor equipment companies, magazines about self-sufficiency, newsletters from ham radio organizations. These arrive in the mailbox with the address visible, the publication name visible, and occasionally the subscriber name visible. A copy of a well-known preparedness magazine sitting in an open mailbox tells a passing observer, "This household thinks about disruption scenarios." The lights. At night, a house communicates differently. Most suburban homes follow a predictable pattern. Porch light on at dusk, off at 11. Interior lights visible through windows following a pattern that tracks with human activity. Kitchen until 8, living room until 10, bedroom until 11. Dark. This pattern establishes normalcy. It says, people are home. They follow a routine. They go to bed at a reasonable hour. But some houses break the pattern. A house with no porch light and no visible interior light, completely dark at 9 in the evening, suggests either vacancy or deliberate light discipline. Light discipline is a military concept. You reduce your light signature to avoid detection. In a suburban context, a house practicing light discipline at night is a house whose occupant has a specific reason to avoid being noticed after dark. That reason might be privacy. It might be something else entirely. But the darkness is itself a signal, just a different kind. Conversely, a house with excessive exterior lighting, motion-activated floodlights on every corner, landscape lighting illuminating the yard, a ring of light around the entire perimeter, is communicating anxiety. The homeowner is afraid of the dark. More precisely, the homeowner is afraid of what the dark might bring. And fear is its own signal. It says, there is something here worth protecting, and the person protecting it is not confident in their ability to do so without technological assistance. The most secure-looking house on the block, the one with the most cameras and the most lights and the most signs, is often the least secure in practice. Because that house has outsourced its security to systems that require electricity, connectivity, and institutional response. Remove those three things, and the house has nothing left but the fear that motivated the purchases in the first place. Now we arrive at the part where most people expect an easy answer, the obvious solution. You have heard Raccoon Survival describe how your driveway, your garage, your lawn, your trash, your mailbox, your lighting, and your security systems all broadcast information about your household to anyone passing by. The obvious response is to eliminate the signals, take down the cameras, remove the signs, let the lawn go wild, stop ordering from recognizable companies, switch to a locked mailbox, practice light discipline every night. And this is the answer that does not work. It does not work because it addresses the symptoms without understanding the mechanism. The mechanism is not that individual signals betray you. The mechanism is that your entire property is a communication system that you never designed. You chose each element, the camera, the sign, the lawn service, the Amazon account, the trash schedule, independently notice. Stop ordering online and you lose access to equipment you actually need. Each signal serves a legitimate function in ordinary life. The problem is not the individual signal, the problem is the aggregate message. And there is a deeper issue. Removing signals is a defensive posture. It assumes the threat is passive observation, someone walking by and reading your house. But in a sustained disruption, the threat evolves. Passive observation becomes active reconnaissance. Active reconnaissance becomes targeted approach. Targeted approach becomes forced entry. Removing your camera does not make your house invisible. It makes your house a house without a camera. The supplies inside are still there, The food is still there. The water is still there. You have not changed your vulnerability. You have only changed your visibility, and you have done so at the cost of your situational awareness. This is the point where Raccoon Survival walks one more street. Not the one in Tennessee, not the one in North Carolina, not the one in Virginia. A different street. A street where he noticed something that changed the way he thought about residential security entirely. It was a neighborhood in the Mid-South, 15 houses on a cul-de-sac. Raccoon Survival walked it on a Wednesday afternoon. 14 of the 15 houses followed the patterns he expected. Some were high signal, cameras and signs and manicured lawns. Some were low signal, bare driveways and dark windows. All 14 were readable. He could place each one on the spectrum from unprepared to visibly prepared. Each one communicated its story. The 15th house communicated nothing. Not nothing as in dark and neglected. Not nothing as in abandoned. The house was clearly occupied. The lawn was maintained, but not aggressively. Moderate. Unremarkable. The driveway had one vehicle, a mid-range sedan, clean but not new. No bumper stickers. No aftermarket modifications. No tool rack. No trailer. The garage door was closed, not partially open like the others on a Wednesday afternoon. Closed. The mailbox was a standard USPS-approved box with no distinguishing features and no visible mail. No cameras on the exterior. No alarm sign in the yard. No floodlights. No motion sensors that he could see. No garden. No rain barrel. No solar panels. The curtains were drawn but not conspicuously. The house had a single porch light, off during the day. The fence was a standard 6-foot privacy fence, identical to 3 others on the street. Raccoon Survival walked past it twice. On the first pass, he registered nothing. The house did not trigger any assessment because there was nothing to assess. On the second pass, he stopped. Because registering nothing is itself a signal. Every other house on that street told a story. This one refused to speak, and the refusal was so complete, so consistent across every observable element that it could not be accidental. Nobody accidentally achieves zero information leakage across every surface of their property. Someone had designed that house to disappear, not by adding concealment, not by building walls or planting hedges or installing countermeasures, by subtraction, by removing every element that deviated from the median. The house was exactly average in every measurable dimension. Lawn maintenance, average. Vehicle, average. Exterior condition, average. Lighting, average. Visible technology, average. Landscaping, average. The house had been calibrated to the baseline of its environment and then held there. This is the grey man principle applied to architecture. A grey man does not dress in camouflage. Camouflage is a costume, and costumes attract attention. A grey man dresses in whatever the local median is. If the median is khaki pants and a polo shirt, the grey man wears khaki pants and a polo shirt. If the median is jeans and a work jacket, the grey man wears jeans and a work jacket. The grey man does not stand out by being better dressed or worse dressed. He does not stand out at all. He occupies the exact center of the bell curve, and the human eye, which is tuned to detect anomalies, slides right past him. The 15th house on that cul-de-sac was a grey house. It occupied the exact center of the neighborhood's bell curve, and because it matched every expectation without exceeding any of them, it was functionally invisible. Raccoon Survival's eye slid past it on the first pass. His brain registered it as background. It took a deliberate second look and a conscious analytical effort to recognize what was happening. And if Raccoon Survival, who has spent decades reading residential environments, nearly missed it, then the average passerby would never notice it at all. What was inside that house? He does not know. He never found out. The house refused to tell him, which is exactly the point. That house understood something that the other 14 did not. Security is not a product you buy. It is not a camera. It is not a sign. It is not a floodlight or a smart lock or a reinforced door frame. Those are tools, and tools have their place, but they are not security. Security is the condition of being unknown. If nobody knows what you have, nobody can plan to take it. If nobody can see your capabilities, nobody can assess your vulnerabilities. If your house does not register as a target, it will not be targeted. This is not about having less. This is about displaying less. The man with 8 months of food storage and a hand-pumped well and solar panels and a chicken coop, the one in Virginia, had more resources than anyone else on his block. But the garden and the rain barrel and the panels and the coop told the world about 4 of his systems. The 15th house on the cul-de-sac might have had twice as much, or nothing at all. The point is that nobody could tell, and in a disruption, the house nobody can read is the house nobody approaches. So what does this look like in practice? What does it mean to build a grey house? It means auditing your property not from the inside out, but from the outside in. Stand on the sidewalk across from your house. Bring a notebook. Write down everything you can see, identify or infer. Every piece of equipment, every brand name, every signal of capability or vulnerability. Then walk the block and do the same for your neighbors. Compare your list to theirs. Where do you deviate from the median? Where do you stand out, up or down? Every deviation is information. Every piece of information is a potential vulnerability. The goal is not 0 signals. That is impossible unless you live underground. The goal is 0 anomalous signals. Your house should look exactly like what the neighborhood expects a house to look like. Not more secure, not less secure, not more prepared, not less prepared, not richer, not poorer. Exactly average, perfectly median, aggressively unremarkable. Your cameras, if you keep them, should be invisible from the street. Not mounted on the eave in a white housing with a visible LED. Recessed, painted to match the soffit. No blinking light. Your alarm system should have no yard sign. If your insurer requires proof of a system, provide it through documentation, not through advertisement. Your vehicles should not display capability. The winch truck stays in the garage or parks at a friend's property. The daily driver is the sedan. The cargo trailer stays elsewhere or behind the solid fence. Your garage door stays closed. Every time, no exceptions. If you need ventilation while working, install a side access door that does not face the street. Your garden, if you have one, goes in the backyard, behind the fence, invisible from public property. Your rain barrels go on the side of the house that faces the fence, not the street. Your solar panels, if roof-mounted, are more difficult to conceal, but ground-mounted systems behind a fence are invisible. Your bulk purchases ship to an alternative address, a P.O. box, a workplace, a storage unit, and arrive at your home in unmarked vehicles or transferred into generic containers. Your trash becomes your most important operational security measure. Break down all boxes completely. Remove all labels. Turn branded packaging inside out before flattening. Mix preparedness-related packaging in with ordinary household waste so that no single trash day reveals a pattern. Or better yet, dispose of identifiable packaging at a commercial dumpster on your way to work. Your mailbox receives nothing that identifies your interests, your purchases, or your subscriptions. Use a P.O. box for anything that might communicate capability. Your lawn matches the neighborhood, not better, not worse. Your fence is the same height and material as your neighbor's fences. Your exterior lighting matches the block's average. One porch light, maybe a motion light on the back door. Nothing that suggests a perimeter defense system. This requires effort, more effort than buying a camera and sticking it on your porch. More effort than planting a sign in your yard. More thought than subscribing to an alarm service and assuming the monthly payment equals protection. The grey house approach requires continuous attention to what your property communicates. It requires you to think like an observer every time you make a change to your home. Will this addition deviate from the median? Will this removal create an anomaly? Does this change make my house more or less noticeable? It is exhausting. It is also the only approach that works in every scenario. In normal times, your house is simply a house. In a disruption, your house is still simply a house. The camera and sign approach works in normal times and fails in disruptions. The grey house approach works in both. Raccoon Survival has walked hundreds of streets. He has assessed thousands of houses, and the conclusion is always the same. The houses that survive are not the ones with the most technology, the most hardware, the most visible investment in security. The houses that survive are the ones that never appeared on anyone's list. The ones that communicated nothing. The ones that refused to participate in the performance of safety and instead achieved the reality of invisibility. There is one more thing. The principle does not stop at your property line. Your house is part of a block. Your block is part of a neighborhood. Your neighborhood is part of a community, and communities talk. Your neighbor knows you have a generator because he heard it running during the last power outage. The mail carrier knows you receive packages from a freeze-dried food company because she delivers them. The lawn service crew knows you have a gun safe in your garage because they saw it when the door was open. The FedEx driver knows you ordered a water filtration system because the box had the logo on the outside. Each of these people is a data point. Each data point is a potential information leak. In normal times, none of them matter. During a sustained disruption, any one of them could matter enormously. This is not about distrust. This is about distrust. This is about understanding that information travels through networks you do not control. Your neighbor is not your enemy. Your mail carrier is not a threat. But information, once released, does not respect your intentions. You told your neighbor about the generator because he is a good man and you wanted him to know he could come to you if the power went out. That is a generous impulse. But your neighbor told his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law mentioned it at work. A co-worker remembered it 6 months later when the lights went out and his family was cold. Information does not stay where you put it. It migrates, it multiplies. It arrives at destinations you never intended, carried by people who mean no harm, and it gets there long before trouble does. The grey house principle extends to conversation the same way it extends to your lawn and your driveway and your trash. You do not need to lie. You do not need to deny. You need to be unremarkable. When a neighbor asks if you are ready for hurricane season, the answer is not, "I have 14 months of freeze-dried food and a water filtration system rated for 10,000 gallons. The answer is, "We picked up some extra batteries and canned soup, same as last year." Both statements can be true. One of them is forgettable. The other is a file that gets stored in your neighbor's memory and indexed under the category, "People who have things I might need." Raccoon Survival has a rule. He calls it the grocery store test. If someone asks about your preparedness, give an answer that sounds like it came from a single trip to the grocery store. Batteries, canned soup, a case of water bottles, a flashlight. These are the answers that register as normal. They match the median. They disappear from memory within minutes because they confirm what the listener already expected. The moment you exceed that expectation, the moment you mention generators or filtration systems or food storage measured in months instead of days, you have left the median. You are no longer background noise, you are a signal, and signals get remembered. This applies to every interaction. The contractor who installs your backup power system, the plumber who sees your water storage setup, the electrician who wires your transfer switch, the delivery driver who brings your bulk orders. Every professional who enters your home becomes a witness to your capabilities. This does not mean you cannot use professionals. It means you should understand that each one adds a data point to the public record of your household. Minimize where possible. Consolidate where you can. If the same electrician who wires your transfer switch also sees your communications equipment and your food storage and your medical supplies, that is one person with a complete picture. If 4 different professionals each see one system, that is 4 people with partial pictures. Partial pictures are harder to assemble into actionable intelligence. The people who take this the furthest, and Raccoon Survival has met several, compartmentalize their preparations the way an intelligence agency compartmentalizes operations. The generator is installed by one company. The food storage is built personally, no outside help. The water system is installed by a plumber from a different county who has no social connection to the neighborhood. The communications equipment is purchased at hamfests for cash, no shipping records, no delivery trucks, no branded packaging on the curb. Each professional sees one piece. No single person outside the household sees the whole picture. Is this extreme? By the standards of suburban normalcy, yes. By the standards of anyone who has lived through a sustained disruption where prepared households became targets, it is not extreme at all. It is the minimum viable operational security for a household that intends to remain intact when the systems that currently protect it stop functioning. Walk outside tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Stand on the sidewalk across from your house. Look at it the way a stranger would. Look at it the way a desperate stranger would. What does your driveway say? What does your garage door reveal? What is visible through your windows? What does your lawn communicate? What did your trash tell the neighborhood last Tuesday? What does that camera on your porch promise to anyone who understands what it means? Write it down. Every signal, every piece of information your house is broadcasting right now, tonight, to anyone who walks past. Then ask yourself one question. If the power went out tonight and stayed out for 30 days, would you want a stranger to know everything your house just told you? If the answer is no, then your house is not a fortress. It is a confession. And the time to stop talking is before the audience starts listening. Next week, Raccoon Survival maps the water. 7 American cities that cannot survive 12 more months on their current supply. The infrastructure is failing. The aquifers are dropping. The political will to fix either one does not exist. You can grey man your house. You cannot grey man a city that is running out of water. If you live near one of these 7 cities, you need to know. And if you do not live near one, you need to understand what happens when 3 million people start looking for somewhere else to go. The Water Crisis Map, next week.